In the brutal and unforgiving world of boxing, where fists replace words and legacy is carved not in gold but in blood, there exists a force so merciless, so exacting, that the mere mention of his name sends a chill down the spines of even the most seasoned fighters. That name is Naoya Inoue. Known as the Monster, Inoue has cultivated a reputation not merely as a boxer but as an unrelenting executioner, a warrior whose fists speak in a language of justice, heritage, and merciless precision. He is not a man of theatrics. He does not waste time with social media call-outs or engage in the hollow bluster of press conference shouting matches. Inoue is a man of few words. His answers come in the form of body blows and knockdowns, delivered in a language that transcends borders, egos, and weight classes. In 2017, this quiet fury found itself directed at a man who dared to scoff at its very existence. Antonio Nieves, an American fighter known more for his confidence than his accomplishments, stepped into the limelight with a tongue sharper than his jab. He dismissed Inoue's resume, mocked his accomplishments, and questioned his legitimacy. "He's been fighting nobodies in Japan," Nieves said. "He's had it easy. He hasn't been tested. That's going to change when he faces me." To Nieves, Inoue was just a product of regional hype, untested, overhyped, and unprepared for the fire he was about to walk into. But there are lines you do not cross. You do not spit on the journey of a warrior forged in discipline and steeped in legacy. And Nieves would learn that the hard way. September 9, 2017. Dignity Health Sports Park in California buzzed with anticipation. It was a night already charged with energy, headlined by Roman Gonzalez and Srisaket Sor Rungvisai. But for many in the crowd, it was the co-feature bout that carried the air of a storm on the horizon. Naoya Inoue was making his U.S. debut, a moment long awaited by hardcore boxing fans who had followed his meteoric rise in Asia. For others, particularly American fans unfamiliar with his work, he was still a mystery, a quiet destroyer cloaked in myth. Nieves, meanwhile, was a known quantity. He was brash, outspoken, and, at least on paper, a threat to derail the Inoue hype train. Inoue entered the arena not with bombast, but with the focused silence of a man who had already envisioned how the night would end. He wore black, not for intimidation, but for tradition. In his homeland, black is the color of the warrior, the executioner, the man who walks into battle knowing he will not leave until the job is done. Across the ring, Nieves bounced on his toes, grinning, loose, and cocky. To the untrained eye, it looked like a contrast of energy. But to those who understood the gravity of this moment, it was clear. One man was prepared for war, the other was prepared for a show. When the bell rang, there was no immediate chaos. Inoue didn't rush. He never does. He studied. Like a hawk circling its prey, he watched every feint, every jab, and every twitch in Nieves' shoulders. The American tried to assert himself early, jabbing to the head, flicking punches to the body, and attempting to establish dominance. But within moments, Inoue began to close the distance with uncanny precision. He wasn't just reacting, he was predicting. His footwork cut off Nieves' exits. His jab, piston-like, began finding its home through the guard. By the end of the first round, the tone had shifted. Inoue was not here to compete. He was here to dismantle. Round 2 was a lesson in escalation. Where the first round had been an assessment, the second was a declaration. Inoue's body shots echoed like thunderclaps. He didn't headhunt, he hollowed his opponent out. Left hook to the ribs, right cross to the chin, back to the body. His punches came in varied, unpredictable sequences, making defense a hopeless exercise. Nieves, to his credit, fought back. He tried to answer. But there's a difference between fighting and surviving, and soon it became clear which one he was doing. The look in his eyes changed. The swagger began to vanish. And still, Inoue pressed forward, not like a man chasing a knockout, but like a craftsman perfecting his masterpiece. Round 3, Nieves' corner began to sense what was unfolding. Their fighter was tough, yes, but toughness only delays the inevitable. Inoue was breaking him not just physically, but spiritually. Every punch told a story. Every shot to the ribs reminded Nieves of the words he'd spoken, the disrespect he had so carelessly flung into the air. And Inoue, he never said a word. He simply worked. Jab, hook, slip, counter. His movements were minimal, efficient, and devastating. Commentators at ringside began to draw comparisons to legends: Duran, Pacquiao, Chavez, but even those names felt insufficient. Inoue's violence wasn't emotional. It was righteous. He didn't just want to win. He wanted to restore order. As the 4th round commenced, Inoue's face remained emotionless, stoic. The American crowd began to recognize what they were seeing. This wasn't hype. This was something real, something rare. Nieves, once so vocal, now struggled to breathe, let alone speak. His body was breaking. The bruises began to bloom like ink stains across his ribs and flanks. His footwork slowed. His counters turned into flicks. And all the while, Inoue remained composed, unleashing combinations that landed with pinpoint cruelty. He wasn't rushing. He was savoring. The 5th round brought the exclamation point. After stalking Nieves with merciless precision, Inoue unleashed a body shot that will live forever in the minds of those who witnessed it. A left hook to the liver, delivered with perfect timing and full commitment, shut Nieves' body down instantly. He collapsed, his knees buckling, his arms clutching his side as if trying to hold his insides together. The arena erupted. Not in joy, but in awe. It was a moment of beauty and brutality, the kind of punch that silences even the most hardened cynics. Nieves somehow got up, rising like a man staggering out of a nightmare, but the damage had been done. His spirit, so bold days before, had been shattered. Inoue could have ended it there. But he didn't. That's not his way. He believes in full penance. He continued the assault, landing shot after shot to the same wounded area. Nieves flinched before punches even landed. His body betrayed him. His legs wobbled. His hands dropped. And still he stood. Pride, foolish and brave, kept him on his feet. But Inoue does not grant mercy to those who ask too late. Each punch after that was a reminder of the cost of arrogance. The 6th round, Nieves was a ghost. He moved because his body hadn't yet failed entirely, but his mind was elsewhere, likely trying to remember how it had all gone so wrong. Inoue didn't change. His pace remained consistent. His face remained blank. He threw with the same precision, the same malice, as if scripting a story with each punch. Nieves threw occasional counters, but they had no venom. They were the movements of a man doing what he was supposed to, not what he wanted to. His corner watched in horror. They had gambled on pride. And now they were watching it cost their fighter everything. Before the 7th round could begin, the corner did what Nieves could not. They surrendered. The towel came flying in, a white flag in a war already lost. The referee didn't hesitate. The fight was waved off. Inoue stood in the center of the ring, his hand raised, his expression unchanged. To him, it was just another execution. A mission fulfilled. A statement was made. For the audience in California, the silence that followed was telling. They had come to see a fight. They had witnessed a reckoning. Inoue had crossed the ocean not to entertain, but to enlighten. The myth had become reality. The monster was not just a nickname, it was a prophecy fulfilled in real time and the aftermath. Commentators who once questioned the hype fell over themselves with praise. Poetry in motion, one called it. Surgical destruction, said another. Fans took to social media, flooding timelines with replays and slow-motion breakdowns of the body shot that folded Nieves like origami. Inoue, ever composed, thanked the crowd, acknowledged his opponent, and left the ring with the same quiet dignity with which he entered it. No boasts. No dances. Just the silence of a man who had done exactly what he said he would, without ever needing to say it. Antonio Nieves would never be the same. The defeat wasn't just a loss on his record, it was a reckoning. He had spoken when he should have trained. He had laughed when he should have studied. And he had paid the price in front of thousands. His ribs would heal. But his pride. That was another matter entirely. Naoya Inoue's debut in America was more than a fight, it was a ritual. A cleansing. A demonstration of what happens when discipline meets disrespect. He had walked into enemy territory and claimed it as his own, not with noise, but with noise-canceling dominance. Every punch was a sermon. Every round, a chapter in a book titled, "Never Underestimate a Warrior." From that night onward, the conversation changed. Inoue was no longer the Japanese champion. He was the global force. Fighters in other weight divisions took notice. Promoters recalibrated their plans. And fans, now educated by the violence they had just witnessed, began to dream of what came next. Who could challenge him? Who would dare? But perhaps the greatest lesson of that night wasn't for Nieves or the crowd or the pundits. It was for every fighter who thought they could define greatness with words instead of work. Inoue had shown the world that silence is not weakness. That humility is not the absence of strength but its highest form. And that when a man carries his nation's pride in his fists, you do not mock him. You brace for him. Because in boxing, talk is cheap. But the bill always comes due. And on that fateful night in California, Antonio Nieves learned the price of arrogance. He learned what it means to stand across from greatness. And he learned, most painfully, what happens when you disrespect the monster. And Naoya Inoue. He left as he arrived, in silence, in black, unbothered by the noise around him. But the echoes of his fists, those would ring in America's memory forever.